Today on Your Money, Your Wealth podcast number 346, Joe and Big Al are talking about buying and selling real estate, investment property, and your primary residence. How do you estimate net investment income tax when selling your home? Is the all-in-one mortgage a good temporary solution when you're buying a home before selling your current house? The ins and outs of buying property in California with your kids and how Prop 13 and Prop 19 factor into the process. And should you pay the mortgage or save for retirement? Plus, what's the best way to pay credit card debt? And do corporations really pay no taxes? But first, so you don't miss the Roth talk, can you contribute to both a Roth IRA and Roth 401k? I'm producer Andy Last, and here are the hosts of Your Money, Your Wealth, Joe Anderson, CFP, and Big Al Clopine, CPA.
Diane writes in from Arizona. She goes, hello, Al, Andy, and Joe, alphabetically, so as not to hurt any feelings.
Got it.
All right.
I'm just glad I'm first.
Got it. I thoroughly enjoy your podcast. Personally, I think it's nearly perfect balance between funny banter and valuable, relevant information. I usually listen while walking my Chihuahua.
Chihuahua. That is a hard word to pronounce.
Yeah, right?
Odie. That was my dog's name when I was growing up.
Odie.
It's short for odiferous, which means stinky.
Did you have a Chihuahua?
It was not a Chihuahua. It was a much larger Odie.
Got it.
Was it an Odie part of a cartoon?
Yeah, Garfield.
Got it.
Oh, very good.
Drive a 2020 Subaru Crosstrek. Crosstrek?
On screen for you.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Very nice. And hubby drives a 2014 Toyota Camry or AM Spider.
Check that thing out.
That's like a three-wheeler.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like a transformer. It goes with the Megatron.
It does.
Can-Am Spider, depending on the weather.
Got it.
Most importantly, my drink of choice is 2 Towns Hard Cider, made in Oregon.
Yeah, looks cool.
2 Towns Cider.
Ever had it?
Nope.
Me neither.
Never had it.
Not
Cider house.
Not much of a hard cider guy myself.
No, not really. What's the difference of a hard cider and like hard seltzer? One's like
hard cider is like apple juice that's made alcoholic, isn't it?
Like cider. It's
okay.
apple
So
juice.
I got it. All right.
Yeah.
So,
or pear. They also do pear and
seltzer water.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you got spiked
spiked apple juice or
spiked
water.
water.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Understand now.
That's my 98% sure of that.
Got it.
Because that's how it sounds.
It sounds right to me. Yeah. I've never got into the
hard
Coors Light. It's pretty
yeah, actually
right?
I'm with you.
Yeah.
And I like some of the other beers, the hazy IPAs. And
yeah.
I'm starting to find they give me more headaches. I'm back to Coors Light again.
See, it's easy peasy. Man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But I have have tried a couple of the what's the brewery here in town?
Well, there's AleSmith and Ballast Point.
No. That's making like
Stone.
actual cocktails.
Oh, yeah, Cutwater.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Those are decent.
Those aren't bad.
Yeah.
On the golf course, if you want, something
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Right.
So,
sure.
Anyway,
I'm with you.
All right. Quick overview of our financial picture. Hubby is a young retiree, just 53 after a 25-year career as a law enforcement officer. All right. Thank you, hubby, for your service. I make $105,000 per year. I'm aggressively paying down our $100,000 mortgage, which is our only debt, and plan to continue working as long as I'm enjoying the work, as I'm only 50 years old. Hubby receives a monthly pension that continues for the rest of our lives. We also have $150,000 in pre-tax 457 plan and a small balance of a Roth IRA. I have $750,000 in pre-tax 401k account, and I currently contribute 20% with a 6% employer match in a small Roth IRA. We have other miscellaneous accounts, including a small post-tax brokerage account, that are not material to the questions I have for you. That's all the blah, blah, blah. So let me get to my questions. Number 1, am I allowed to contribute the max, which I believe is currently $7,000 annually, including catch-up contributions to both the Roth IRA and Roth 401k? The answer is yes, Diane.
On the 401k.
You could do a Roth IRA as well, can't she?
Yeah, depends on. I don't know how much her husband's pension is, so there are income limitations.
So, but let's say if you qualify, so I guess,
and probably he does. I mean, so in other words, if you jointly make less than $198,000, then you can do a full Roth IRA, which is, you're correct, $7,000 when you're 50 years and older.
So you make $100,000 a year. Is if your husband's pension is less than 100,000.
Yeah.
You're pretty close that, yes, you could contribute to a Roth. Your husband can contribute to a Roth, and you could fully fund a 401k account.
Right. Which is $19,500 plus the $6,500 catch up.
Yeah. For the 401k plan.
Yeah.
All right. Can my hubby contribute $7,000 to his Roth IRA as a spousal contribution since he does not have earned income? Yes. We answered that before I even knew it was a question.
Yeah, you did.
By the way, you may suggest not paying down the mortgage since rates are so low, but we do not want a mortgage when we are both retired. Thank you, and keep up the great podcast. So what would you do, Alan? Would you pay down the mortgage, or would you contribute? If you had the choice, would you put money into a Roth IRA, fully fund her 401k and hubby Roth and her Roth, or would you take that extra cash and pay down the mortgage?
Well, I do like the idea of fully funding the Roths, but I'm actually fine with people paying off their mortgage if they still have excess cash, right? And I've actually paid off mine. I think it's totally fine to go into retirement, and I'm still working, but to go into retirement without a mortgage, if you can pull it off. But I don't really want people to actually spend so much money and dollars paying off their mortgage to the detriment of saving for their retirement.
So a couple of things that I'm looking at here is that they have $900,000 in pre-tax accounts. So let's call it $1 million. So that $1 million can provide around $40,000 of income. They're young, 55. He retired at 53. She's 50. And so she wants to continue to work. So does she jam paying down the mortgage, or does she continue to build out retirement accounts from a Roth perspective? Since he has a pension, law enforcement for 20 some odd years, I'm guessing it's probably, 70, 80% of his income.
Right. Which could be, whatever.
80,
70,
90,
80,000.
100,000.
Yeah, right.
Or it could be a lot higher depending on what his rank was.
Yeah, true.
So if they already have a pretty good sized pension, so they have fixed income, the mortgage it's $100,000.
Yeah, it hardly counts.
You know what I mean? Let's say you refinance, you get it at lock in at 3% for the next 30 years.
Yep. I
like that strategy a lot more. And then you take all your excess cash flow, you fully fund your 401k from the Roth, you put a Roth IRA for him, you put an Roth IRA for yourself, and if there's extra after that, I would still build up my non-qualified brokerage account that you said is insignificant.
Right.
In the very last, I would go to the mortgage.
Got it. So I agree with you, except for the mortgage part. I'm actually, when you get a little bit older, Joe, I know you're still a youngster.
Yes.
It feels kind of nice not to have a mortgage.
Understand.
I have to say that. Just I'll throw it out there.
Right.
But like I said, right at the onset, I don't really want Diane to do this and jeopardize her retirement savings. I think that's even more important. And you are right about that. The fact that husband has good fixed income means that you can cover the mortgage. So it's not that big a deal, really. So
if he didn't have the mortgage, I mean, if he didn't have the pension,
right,
maybe you want to look a little bit different at holding a note, right? Because you have a guaranteed income source for the rest of your life. So you could probably cover some of that note. But I get it. If you're more conservative, then you pay off the note, which sounds like she is. And
yeah.
But if you want to have more wealth, then I wouldn't pay off the note and continue to save.
I'm with you. Go ahead and pay it off if you want to.
All right. Hello, Andy, Alan, Joe, Jim from Santa Cruz. Once again, Jim from Santa Cruz calling. After answering my question about Jack and Diane on show 342, Joe asked if I'm a teacher. And Al mentioned that he didn't know what I drink. My sincere apologies for the grievous oversight.
I was waiting to see if he was going to get that word right.
Was I close?
Yeah.
You killed it.
See.
Grievous.
Yes, I've just been reading.
Just been reading a lot in your spare time, getting all these words down.
Longer words.
Yeah.
I'm a sales rep for a solar energy company or for a component manufacturer. And my preferred drink of choice is Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Okay, so that paints a better picture, right? Now that we know.
Yeah.
Now we know Jim intimately.
Yeah.
Yep.
Little sales guy, kind of cruising around selling solar parts. Drinking
Right.
Sierra Nevada.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Jack and Diane, they plan to sell their home in retirement roughly around the year 2035. Diane projects taxable income after escrow realtor fees of about $500,000 prime. In the $500,000 primary resident exemption to be $375,000. Fortunately, Diane is a longtime YMYW listener with a comprehensive retirement plan spreadsheet. Unfortunately, Diane is married to Jack, who is a real nice guy, but doesn't know diddly squat about finances. If she had married Big Al, her spreadsheet would have included the net investment income tax for capital gains on the sale of her home. Instead, she gave that tax no consideration until another show, 342, called and asked about it. Okay. Oh, he really likes his Jack and Diane.
He does, doesn't he?
Believing they will have no other investment income for that year, Diane calculates her net investment income tax as follows. $375,000 taxable gain minus $250,000 exemption equals $125,000 times 3.8 equals $4,750. Both Diane enters this on a spreadsheet and tells Jack that he now has to work an extra month. Can you confirm this is right way to estimate the tax? Thanks as always for the great show. You guys really are the best. Jim from Santa Cruz. All right. What do you think there, Big Al? So he's talking about the net investment income tax that happens after a capital asset is sold and it's on top of a capital gain.
Right. Yeah. So Jim, you're on the right track, but maybe one more tweak here. So the rule is simply this, that you have to pay that extra 3.8% net investment income tax when your adjusted gross income is over $250,000 when you're married. So you've got that right. So your calculation is essentially right, but you have to look at other income too. Like maybe there's $100,000 of other income, right? So now basically your taxable gain is adjusted gross income is 475, not 375. So you'd really have 100,000 more subject to that 3.8% tax. So you kind of have to look at your entire adjusted gross income, subtract out 250, and to the extent that you have passive income like capital gains, you multiply it by that 3.8%.
Yeah, he was down in because he said they had no other income. So
did he say that?
Yeah.
Where?
I just I don't know exactly in this big long ass paragraph.
I think he said they had no other investment income.
No,
but if there's other non-investment
believing
income,
they will have no other investment income for the year, Diane. Okay, so it's all income, and then so if they have more ordinary income, then that pushes because the capital gain sits on top of the ordinary income.
You got it.
So that's the sitting on top of.
The sitting on top rule.
The sitting on top rule.
Now we'll get another. Can you explain how the capital gain sits on top?
I will send them the podcast episode that is nothing except answers to those questions.
Yeah, we've had several, so you have your choice.
Yeah. What sits on top? Who sits on what?
That was YMYW podcast episode number 325, by the way, entitled Capital Gains versus Ordinary Income Tax Explained. And you can find it in the podcast show notes at yourmoneyyourwealth.com. Chances are that you would get even more value from a free financial assessment with an advisor on Joe and Big Al's team at Pure Financial Advisors. And you can book that right from the podcast show notes too. Pure Financial is a fee-only fiduciary, which means that they will not sell you any investment products, and they're required by law to act in the best interests of their clients. All of Pure's advisors are certified financial planner professionals. They'll look at your entire financial situation and your retirement needs, how much risk you can tolerate, and your goals to help you develop a comprehensive financial plan tailored expressly for you. Click the link in the description of today's episode in your podcast app, then click Get an Assessment to schedule that video meeting.
We got Jim calling in from San Diego. This is a follow-up to the all-in-one mortgage inquiry. Oh. I listened to the podcast and realized it didn't provide enough context. We are thinking about moving out of state to another state with no state tax. The real estate markets there are red hot. Properties get sold after being listed. Usually properties get sold after being listed.
Yeah, true.
Soon after being listed.
But soon. That's the operative word.
Got it. We have a current mortgage. If we happen to find a home we want in this other state, we have to commit to buying it on the spot, but haven't sold our other current home yet. We wouldn't qualify for another mortgage on top of our current one. An all-in-one mortgage could be a temporary solution in that we could get enough of a loan to buy the new place and then pay down the all-in-one when we sell our current home and access our equity. If interest rates appear to be rising, we could convert to a traditional loan. We realize we would have additional closing costs from going through 2 lender transactions, but it solves the problem of selling our current home and having to rent locally while continuing long distance house hunting. Is this strategy unadvisable? All right. So Jim's looking to get out of Dodge.
Yeah.
And he wants to purchase a house out of state.
Yeah. In an area that's red hot.
Right. So he's looking at Denver.
Yeah. Or Boise or something hot.
And so he wants to get out of here, go there. And he's like, man, these houses are going quick.
I should lock it in there.
I got to do something. Right.
Right.
And so I can take a home equity line or this all-in-one mortgage, take some cash out, and then use that as a down payment for the next home or purchase the home outright, or I don't know. He's still going to have probably 2 mortgages, right?
Seems like it, unless it's a cheaper home, right?
Yeah. So then when he sells the house, then he, with the equity, he pays it off. And call it good.
Yeah. So it's the strategy's fine, but honestly, the best answer would be to go find a really good mortgage broker and look at all your options and figure out what's going to be the best for you. We don't know near enough, and plus we're not mortgage brokers, but there's nothing wrong with the strategy.
Right. But I mean, I guess here's a better question, I think, for us is, would you sell your home, move to Denver, rent in Denver until you find your house, and then purchase the house in Denver, versus owning a house in San Diego, owning a house in Denver, having this giant mortgage? And I mean, that's a lot of risk.
It's a lot of risk. And the other thing to consider is, and this has been true in my lifetime several times, when the real estate market starts getting really hot, it doesn't last forever.
Right.
Right. So, and I could be wrong.
Sure.
but what I've seen over my career, which has been a lot of years, is real estate market gets so hot, everyone buys, they end up buying at the top of the market, and then it either levels out or it goes down, and then you're kind of stuck with this higher priced property. So just be aware there's a risk, and that's what, to me, that's the biggest risk is overextending yourself and buying something that you really don't want later.
Right. I mean, it's in a super hot market. You just said that. So are you retiring there? What's the sense of urgency to move there?
Right.
And I mean, is it so there's a lot of unknowns.
I mean, on the other hand, if you go to this market and you find the home that you want to live in forever, go for it. I mean, just understand the risk you're taking.
Right. Because I mean, San Diego is a pretty good market. You could probably sell your house in San Diego in a week.
Yeah, true.
Right.
At least currently.
Yeah. So then it's like, okay, well, I'm buying in a really hot market, but you're also selling in a really hot market.
Right.
It might make sense to sell in a really hot market and rent for a little bit until you find your dream home in the area where you want to live.
Yeah.
And then pull the trigger.
Yeah. And maybe you could sell your San Diego home, and maybe you could rent back from the buyer if they'll go along with that for a few months while you find the other place.
You could do that. So now you have cash on hand.
Right.
You're renting back your current place. And then, then you buy your house in whatever area that you're looking for.
Yeah.
I like that. We got Lorraine writes in from San Diego. Hi, please do not use my name on TV. And I just said her name.
That's not her name.
Okay.
Oh, you made up a new one?
Yeah.
Well, because you knew we'd say it.
Yeah.
Well, plus this isn't TV, so we could say it all we want.
Here's my question. I'm in my 70s and have lived in my property for 30 years. I have not purchased another property because I've wanted to retain my very low tax basis under Prop 13. So for those of you that don't understand Prop 13, this is a California proposition that allows individuals to keep their property tax fairly low. And you can exchange that basis if you buy the same property, like or lower value.
Right. Although that changed, I think, with Prop 19.
Okay.
So Prop 19, which I think was passed in
last year,
which became effective maybe.
And then people
December.
are putting their stuff in the trusts.
Yeah. So Prop 19, the way that works is now you can actually trade up. So it used to be you had to keep your property Prop 13 tax base, you had to buy equal or lower, and you have it at one time. You had to be over 55 and you could do it once. Now the new rule is you could actually buy more expensive property and you get your property tax base up to the amount of the property that you sold. So for example, you have $1 million property and you buy $1.5 million property, and the $1 million property has a tax base of 300,000. So you get that. But then since you bought a property 500,000 more, you add the 500 to the 300, and now you got an $800,000 basis. And you can do that 3 times after the age of 55. So that's the current rule.
Wow.
How about that?
Sharp as a tack today, Big Al.
Right.
You were doing some calculations on your own stuff, or what? That just rolled right off your tongue.
It's like I might want to trade up here, Joe. Let's see how this works.
Did you do some studying before this? All right. So Prop 13, I had to buy equal or less to take my taxes with me. It has been almost impossible to buy equal or less.
Yeah, don't have to do that anymore.
I and one of my children, who is 55, want to buy a property together, taking my tax basis with me. I need to know if the two of you, or if the two of us going on a mortgage together would trigger an exemption to occur. So she puts the son on title.
Got it.
Is that going to blow up Prop 13 or Prop 19? The same child would be the one inheriting the property as a personal residence, so the inheritance of taxes would not be an issue. Thank you. I enjoy watching your show every Sunday. Okay, so first of all, I would not put him on title.
Yeah, that's usually not a good idea.
If he's going to inherit the property anyway, he's going to inherit the property, right? Just put him as the beneficiary of the
Yeah, the reason why you do this, Lorraine, and I know that's not your real name, so I can actually say it. The reason you just keep the property in your name is that when you eventually someday pass away, then your child will receive a full step up in basis. So at least under current tax law. So in other words, she'll inherit. Is it him or her? I can't remember.
It's child. Doesn't say.
Child. Your child will inherit this property. Whatever the value is on that date will become the new cost basis, right? And for purposes of the if your child wants to sell the property, for purposes of the Prop 13 or Prop 19 amount, the rules are a lot different on that too with Prop 19. In fact, I think the way that works, Joe, is that when you inherit a property under Prop 19, you only get the tax basis for the first $1 million only, and then anything above that gets the full Prop 19 basis for property tax purposes, but you have to use it for a principal residence. It can't be for rental or anything else. That's the new rule for Prop 19.
So if I understand you correctly, if I inherit a property, and let's say it's a $2 million house, but Prop 13 recognizes, so instead of paying $20,000 in taxes, Prop 13 says it's $300,000 value. So I only pay $3,000 in taxes.
Yeah. Right.
So for people that don't really understand what we're talking about here. So they're saying that the house is actually worth $300,000 for property tax purposes only.
Correct.
Even though the house is worth $2 million. And that's somewhat common in Southern California. So people are spending $3,000 in property tax, where if I purchased a $2 million home, I would have to pay $20,000 in property tax.
Yeah, roughly 1%. That's right.
Right. So this person dies, I inherit the house. She was paying $3,000 in property tax. I inherit this $2 million house. I get a full step up in basis, and I'm going to live in Lorraine's home.
Yes.
So with that, what is my property tax moving forward? Does the Prop 13 go away, and now I got to pay the $20,000 or 1% of the market value? Or is there some sort of...
Yeah, it's a blended thing. So Prop 19 says that as long as the person that inherits the house is going to live in the house as their principal residence, then the first $1 million, you get that same basis over again. So if the $1 million had a property value well, let me put it this way. If the property itself had a $300,000 base, is what you're saying, and it's worth $2 million. So the first $1 million gets the 300,000, and the next amount you add the million to it.
So 1.3.
1.3. So 13,000 in property taxes.
Got it.
Roughly.
And so I'm guessing Lorraine wants to put her child on title. So when she passes, that the child is going to live in the house and still maintain the Prop 13 or Prop 19 tax basis.
And I don't know this for sure, but I don't think that works.
I don't think that works either.
For the exact reason that you mentioned.
Right. Okay. She's got another follow-up question. Another question.
Okay.
If a person owes $5,000 in credit card debt, is it better to borrow $5,000 at 7.99% to be paid over a 24-month period, or pay it off?
And pay it off.
Or do a balance transfer of that card to 0% for 18
months.
For 18 months.
Yeah, do the second one. I prefer
0 versus 8.
Even though you have to pay it off quicker. Do that.
Paying off credit card debt is an important way to take control of your finances. Whether you're in your 60s, 50s, 40s, or younger, decisions you make today will affect your financial security for years to come. In the podcast show notes at yourmoneyyourwealth.com, you'll find 2 relevant free financial resources on this topic. You can read the blog on understanding your credit report, and you can download Cracking the Financial Code at Any Age, a free guide that'll walk you through financial strategies and actions to take in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond to overcome previous missteps and to set yourself up for a more successful retirement. Just click the link in the description of today's episode in your podcast app to get there, and spread the knowledge. Share the links and the podcast with your friends, family, and colleagues.
Hello, Andy. I've heard all throughout my adult life that big bad corporations don't pay any taxes.
This is from our buddy Clint in Florida, by the way.
He's asking you.
He sent it to me directly, but I think he's expecting an answer from you guys.
I think you should answer first, Andy.
The claim is usually from politicians or someone with a gripe. Do you agree with that, Andy?
Sure.
Okay. Earlier this year, I asked Bob at our office if he had to... Who the hell's Bob?
He's the authority, whether big corporations pay tax.
Earlier this year, I asked Bob at the office if he had to pay the IRS taxes. He said no. In fact, he's getting a refund this year. We all know Bob had overpaid his income taxes. Can I assume that these big corporations use every tool available in our tax code to pay as little tax possible? Or are these corporations exempt from paying tax?
Clint, Florida, 2015 F-150.
Oh, F-150.
Okay. Well, Andy, what do you think?
I think that, yes, corporations absolutely are going to use every tool available in our tax codes to pay as little tax as possible.
Okay, so you agree with that statement?
I agree.
And are corporations exempt from paying taxes?
I do not believe that they are.
Okay. All right. I agree with both your comments. I mean, everyone tries to use every trick.
Not everyone. I would say people that have professionals and understand the tax code will probably do what they can to avoid as much tax as legally possible.
Which is, as you like to say, quoting someone from the 1800s, it's your God-given right to pay as little tax as possible.
That's right.
Remember that. Don't remember that exact quote. And I think that's okay. It's okay to use the tax law to your benefit. Are corporations exempt from paying tax? Absolutely not. Do corporations pay tax? Yeah, and they pay a lot of taxes. A lot of taxes. But if they are a large corporation and they have customers across the globe, would it behoove them to set up an operation in some other country that has lower taxes or no taxes, and they fulfill orders and sales from those countries so they're paying lower international taxes? The answer is yes, that's legal. do we always like it? No. And there's always talk about that type of thing, charging more taxes on international companies. And if you think about it, it's completely legal. You could set up an operation in wherever, Cayman Islands, don't have any taxes, right? And you can have your salespeople fulfill orders and ship out of Cayman Islands, and then there's no U.S. tax because it wasn't, as long as it's an international customer. And if you think about it, it had nothing to do with the U.S. except it was owned by a U.S. company. So yeah, there's a lot of talk about changing the rules for that. There's rules on transfer taxes, which basically means allocating more expenses to the U.S. and less expenses to your international companies. So that they're always trying to make that more fair, but it is legal. But companies do still pay a lot of taxes, in my view.
Your Money, Your Wealth is presented by Pure Financial Advisors. Click the Get an Assessment button in the podcast show notes at yourmoneyyourwealth.com or call 888-994-6257 to schedule your free financial assessment video call. It does not matter where you are in the country. Chances are one of the certified financial planner professionals at Pure will be able to identify strategies to help you create a more successful retirement. Pure Financial Advisors is a registered investment advisor. This show does not intend to provide personalized investment advice through this broadcast and does not represent that the securities or services discussed are suitable for any investor. Investors are advised not to rely on any information contained in the broadcast in the process of making a full and informed investment decision.